available to students anyway, but by purchasing it in online format. Or you can also purchase it in a hard copy. It's like more than $200, but it just has too much information that you don't need. And the online version, they used to have a nicer version available, and I've been talking with their management, and they are somewhere in the Philippines. How about that? And they decided that they will provide only this online format. So I will use it partially. And I don't want you to buy it because it will disappear. You pay for this electronic format, and next semester is gone. So it's kind of not a good deal. So what I did, I have posted on the YouTube recordings of my previous lectures for this class, and I'll provide you those a little later, not today, but maybe next week. So that way you'll decide better for you to use this particular textbook or what I did back in years, because they used to have a nicer textbook available, because here you just have to go from the top to the bottom in order to discuss things. And well, the beginning of the textbook, I'm sure you already familiar with, so that should not be a problem at all. So let us start talking about this story of mathematics and how you can enjoy it and how others can also see it and understand it. And the key idea is to, I guess, go through some examples. Like I saw a nice example too that deals with identifying the patterns. So you look at the numbers and then you ask yourself, how do I get from the first number to the next number? And I think if you add 9, right? If you were adding 9, then you would get 3 and 9, which is 12. And then if you do the same thing again, if you add another 9, it will be also working 21. So etc. You add 9, you add 9. So if you decide to do this again, add 9 with 39, it's going to be 48. Right? So you could produce as many numbers as you want this way. In fact, later we'll produce the formula, so you don't really start in the beginning and keep adding 9, but it'd be much faster. But anyways, it looks like the idea of identifying the pattern, what you do to produce the next number, and so forth, is the key point. And here, and the patterns vary. Like for
I
example,
don't think, Professor, sorry to interrupt. I don't think that B is plus 9.
so if I add 21.
No, B. I'm talking about the second option,
Oh,
B.
you're talking about
The
total
second one, yes,
transactions.
that's
Oh,
yes.
very good.
It's 3 times 4, it's 14. It's 12, and 12 times 4 is
Very
84.
good.
It's
Yeah.
48, sorry.
Very good. See, we're not that smart. We're just a little by little moving. If you want me to do part B, I will do it, of course. More than happy. But if you're just saying this all of a sudden, no, no, Alex, it's not right, and everybody starts to be confused. And that's a very good question because you don't want to confuse other students. Let's say you have a class and there are lots of students, and we were doing problem 1, and you all of a sudden say, no, no, it's not correctly problem 3, and everybody is confused. So don't want to confuse when you teach someone. You want to do it slowly and patiently. In fact, with the online classes, it's always the case compared to classes that you teach in person. In person, everybody knows everything they will see, but in the online format, the key part is patience, because in order for everybody to get on the same page, we really need to first of all start. And I guess that's great that you started talking about this, because others now start to think that, oh, I need to first of all prepare people for the others. Because what I was trying to do is to do part C first, but it's great. We'll do part B, and definitely we're gonna see what's happening in part B. Now, our goal is not to do every single exercise in the textbook, because if we do that, we'll stuck with chapter 1 forever. I'll just give you basic ideas, and that's the point. Like, for example, I was about to start problem C, and indeed you notice that patterns are not the same. So for one exercise, you might be trying to add same number, like 9 in part A, but in the part C, you don't add the same number. You add different numbers, like you start at 1, and then you add 2, and then you add 3, and then you add 4, right? So pattern could be just about anything, and that's why you need to not to do problems the same way. So you really want to first of all think what to do in order to move to the next numbers, right? So anyways, you're saying that you decided to do part B, right? And so what would you recommend to do in a part B? How would you go from 3 to 12? I say, well,
Multiplying by 4.
so if you decided to multiply by 4, that's very good idea. So if you decide not to add but to multiply and by 4, so one can say, Alice, how do I know that we have to multiply? Maybe we need to do something else. Well, maybe. So you really want to try. That's the point. So trial and errors. It doesn't work, then you try another way. So if you notice, if you multiply by 4 instead of adding, now you're multiplying. So you're taking the previous number 12, right? And if you're multiplying by 4 indeed, you produce 48. When you say, Alex, would I be able to produce if I multiply by 4 again? Yeah, sure. You don't have to do it in your head. You could just use a free calculator. The other thing I wanted to tell you that I don't want you to purchase anything at all for your class, because it's all available for free. And it's absolutely legitimate if we use Google and find things in it. So if I type scientific calculator, it appears, and there is a beautiful calculator, Desmos Choice 1. So in a Google search, if you find the Choice 1, Desmos, you will get this free calculator, which I think is probably one of the best, and we'll use it in this class. Now, if you prefer some other calculator, then you're free to use any one you like, as long as you know how to use it. But Desmos, I think it's convenient because it shows you what you're doing. So you notice that's multiplying by 4 brings you to the next, to the 12. And if you're going to multiply it by 4 again, it'll bring you to the next, to 48. And if you multiply by 4, then it'd be indeed 192. Please check this out. So in the book, if I return back, it's 192 and then 768, right? Would I get 768 if I multiply it by 4 again? See, that's a brilliant idea to actually, indeed, to multiply and by 4. Okay. Why by 4? Well, please ask this person who recommended to multiply by 4. You just need to try, right? You just need to see how to produce the next one. That's great. Some people can do it faster right away. Some people might need little time to concentrate. But the point is, if you multiply by 4, you will get the next number, which is 3072. And that's what this example is talking about, 372. In fact, if I scroll this down, I think they will be discussing this here. So multiplying by 4, and then they discussing this use of 372. So various rules to produce the next terms. And sometimes the rule may seem to be obvious, but sometimes it's not. Like here, they keep adding 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the last part they are multiplying by 2 by 3, and then by 2 by 3, and then by 2 by 3. How would you like that? That's pretty odd pattern. So if you multiply by 2, you get 6, then by 3 is 18. I say, what is this for, Alex? Well, I guess it's just to enjoy playing with mathematics. And I say, what about the test? Well, for the test, I'm going to give you standard exercises, so you're not going to have any issues doing them. And I will review before the test. I will tell you what kind of problem to expect on the test. And of course, this kind of pattern looking exercise is not probably a very good for the test because someone may not be able to find the pattern and panic. And last thing I want you to do is to panic. So please don't worry. Everything will be fine on the test. I will give you standard exercises, not something that you are not going to be able to do. Plus, you notice that the test I gave you for trying the pre-test, I gave you plenty of time for it. And you were not supervised. You could take a day, you could take 2 days, right? I just got somebody's work this morning, I believe. So it's great. I accept even if it's late. Various things happen, I know, with internet or other things. So my concern is with you to do math, not to do real quickly or be very good with computer or other things. So don't worry about that. I can always give you extra day or two to fix these results. And that's great. So anyways, these ideas of pattern is what first objective is discussing. And again, my goal is to give you a survey of this. And once we saw this kind of patterns possible, I guess I'm gonna move on and see what else, because the format of the textbook, just reading it from beginning to an end, is very inconvenient because I don't see all the exercises at once, and I was asking them to provide me with the exercises with a different layout of the textbook, but they say they cannot. They deleted it. So that's pretty interesting. So anyways, so that's why I need to move to the next page. And to move to the next page, I need to go to the contents of this textbook, the electronic textbook. And the way to go, I think I need to close this one and I go to chapter 2. Like that. Let me see. That's all for chapter 1. I think it's more in here. So you need to play with it all. I need to scroll down this one. Yeah. So because there is a 1.1, there should be next section 1.2, right? There is more in chapter 1 here, 1.3. Yeah, there is way more. So there are actually 2 more sections. So I'd like to check out the next one. It's just introduction, so it's just something that you can see, but don't need to worry about much. And when I say not to worry, so I don't study it, well, let me click on section 1, 2, where the exercises are. So what you want to do is same exercise that I do in class. So if I do in class a number of little problems, and please notice that we have really little exercises in these sections, basically one step, then what you can do is copy a few problems. Don't have to copy all of them, and that'd be your homework. I don't think it's very hard if you have a recording. I know you don't have a textbook, but whatever I do in class, you can also reproduce later. Or somebody can say, Alex, I love challenge. I don't want to copy the same problems. Okay, so if I did problem 1, you don't want to do problem 1, you can do problem 2. So it's really your choice. I want you just to be on the same page with the class, so to do the same type of problems that I do in class. So that's the idea. of the homework. And I put in the syllabus that homework will be due on the day of the midterm. So when we have a midterm, which is going to be in the middle of term, I believe it's sometime in March, so about 2 months ago, to 2 months from now, a little less than 2 months. I will, of course, talk about all that in very detail. But anyways, let's see what they're discussing here in the exercise like number 1. So they trying to make people read the diagrams. So if they're discussing the population of state of California, well, then looks like the California is in the first place, right? So you just care about the first entries, and that's all you really need. So you don't need any others, but you don't need Texas or Florida. You just look at the first bar and here, and that's it. So anyways, it says round the population of California to nearest 100. So how do we round to nearest 100? Well, it looks like this is the number called 39,512,223 people. Well, 223. It's probably various. Every second somebody comes in, crosses one of the borders of California, and somebody leaves. So it's really kind of hard to say it's exactly 223, right? Maybe at some particular second it is, but next second the airplane left and already so many people left, but then came new one or new two ones. So anyways, because of that, it makes sense to round. So what if I decide to round to the nearest 100? Well, we need to look at the following digits, right? So following digit is less than 5. Then we leave that digit of hundreds the way it was. And everything after you put a 0. So it'll be 39,512,200. So nearest 100. So rounding is, I hope, something that you already did before. When I say, Alex, I never did the rounding. Well, then the only thing you need to learn is once you have to round to particular digit, like place of hundreds, whatever follows will turn into zeros, and that digit will stay the same if the following is less than 5. I say, what if it's 5 or larger? Well, then you increase it by 1 and leave these previous digits all the way they are. So if, let's say, if I decide to do part D, nowadays I don't want to do all the parts. It's just being selective. So in the part D, 100,000. So if I try to round it to 100,000, which is 5, digit of 5. So I'm going to leave digits prior way they are. They stay as 39, right? And then 500,000. So after 5, which I don't touch because the following digit again is less than 5. It's just 1. So I need to turn this into zeros after digit I'm rounding it to. So I get 39,500,000. Just like that. So I'm sure if you do one of these parts, it's already good enough. You don't have to keep doing it. And people say, Alex, it's a kind of waste of time. I did it back when I took arithmetic class. Yes, that's correct. So anyways, the exercises here are dealing with various things such as adding, subtracting, multiplying numbers. And I know that the calculator is available, the one that I just shown to you. So you don't really have to do it by hand, even though they say perform by hand. Well, how can I know how do you divide by hand or not? I'm sure some people will use a calculator in order not to make a mistake, which is a smart idea. So you could just put this in a calculator and get the result. Let me try number 21. I think it's a little bit different. Exercise 21 says take 32% of whatever it is. So 32%, 32 hundredths. Number of percent is number of hundredths, right? Of means times 187 and 253. Okay, so you just calculate this product, and notice that we kind of jumping around. So in this first chapter, which is actually a voluntarily chapter, turns out, because usually instructors skip it, but I think it's kind of fun to refresh knowledge of math, so you could just do a few problems for that matter. So 187 and 253. Please notice if you misenter something, you can always double check, right? So I made sure that this is the same, and in order to do that, first of all, I want to write it down, and I'm gonna, what is this result equal to? I cannot see it. Yeah, neither can I, but you can just move this things around, or I can just erase this mess from previous, like that. So you see it's 59,920.96. So it's just some random numbers they multiplied, but I'm sure you know how to multiply, right? And well, your calculator does. And again, I'm using this same calculator, the Desmos. I highly recommend you to use it. So I just type in Google. If you use some other search engine, you may not get it on the first place in your search. So scientific calculator, Desmos is free. So free calculator, but no free textbook. That's why I record lectures, so that way you get a free textbook. How about that? So anyways, taking the percentages. Well, it's one of the favorite things. Now, practice plus you don't have to worry about, but you can see it's really the same thing again. So you multiply and divide in numbers all together. Let me try 37. There is a bunch of little exercises here, so let's do one of them. So it says, people order cell phone covers. Okay, that's great. And the least expensive is 20 bucks. Oh, they probably don't know about existence of Temu, right? It's probably the least expensive is $1. And then the most expensive is 40. Oh, wow. It's not 40, it's $39.95. Yeah, I'm rounding it for convenience, right? So if I see $39 and some close to 40, so it says 40. Okay, and have ordered this middle priced cover. All right, so select best estimate spent on the cell phone covers. So 10 people ordered covers, so we definitely have to go 10 people, right? Times, so what would you multiply it by? 20 by 40 or by the middle value, which is 30. Well, usually as people say it's middle number, right? Middle value, which is 30, because that's something that we can definitely think of, right? So it's 30 times 10 will be 300, right? And say, well, is it a little bit more or a little bit less than 300? Well, you decide, because it looks like 310 seem to be the closest estimate to 300. And one can say, why is it in the middle? Well, because people say the best estimate is the middle. Middle is the best, not the highest, not the lowest, because those are highest estimate, lowest estimate. So the best, I guess, is in the middle. And since there is no 300, well, maybe 310. I say, well, what about 345? Yeah, it is a little bit confusing indeed. That's why I don't think I will put the problems like that on the exam, because they're questionable. Plus, it's a practice plus. I don't want to mess with this much, but you can see it's doable, but indeed a little bit confusing. So I hope you see that this is not something totally foreign, right? This kind of exercises. And just to complete with chapter 1, there is one more thing. So it talks about section 1.3, solving problems using some type of 4-step solving process. Well, I know that some people may use 4-step process, but some people may use 5-step process. So I guess I'm not gonna get into these ideas because again, it's voluntarily chapter. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just look at the problems and start solving them. I guess whichever method you use is fine, as long as you feel comfortable solving these problems using your own method. Let me clean the mess. I will stop sharing and then share this again. So share my screen again so that way I don't have to erase. All right, so let's try one of these practice exercises. Like I'll do exercise 38. I say, what about beginning? I can do one in the beginning if you want, but whichever ones, I'm just selecting it at random. If you have preference to some of these exercises, tell me, Alex, can you do number 5 or number whatever? So, in fact, I can try number 5 here. So it says a salesperson receives weekly salary of $350. So whenever I solve the problem, I'm trying to write down all the information. So they give you some number, great, put it down. So receives $350 salary, great. So in addition, 15 is paid. In addition, well, that's going to be addition is going to be plus right there. So they spell it out. That's the point. You don't want to hurry. You want to write it down carefully. So they say $15 in addition. So they add $15. And now you should be careful for each or every item sold in excess of 200. So $15 is going to be multiplied by how many? Well, by X, right? And if I check out and they say 212, so would that be 12? I say, what does this mean? Why did you put times 12? Well, because those are 12 items in excess of 200. So if you're looking at 200 items sold, well, you still make 350. But if you sell more, then you start to get $15 extra for each item. So if you sold 12 more, you got 12 times 15. Well, that deserves to think about, right? That's something that is interesting to think about. So maybe you can think about it over weekend. Please notice that our weekend starts tomorrow because our class is Monday and Wednesday, right? And weekend is going to start because we're going to meet again next week on Monday. How about that? That's great, right? So you could multiply if you want, or you can just take your calculator. So it'll be what, 15, 180, and 3,500, whatever it is. So I guess I would just tell you, put it in the calculator. It's so easy to make a little silly mistake, so you don't want to do that. So you have calculator available. I say, can I use a calculator? Yeah, I think it's a good idea if you don't want to miscalculate something, right? So let calculator do a job. So 530 is the answer, and that's it. So we should definitely have access to technology. Moreover, it's free, and we should be able to use technology. And if you feel like calculating it by hand, please go ahead and enjoy calculating by hand, and it's up to you. So please notice there are various interesting exercises, and you could try to do a few of those. Let's say I try one more, and then maybe I will let you go and enjoy the weekend and think about this class, because again, so far I am very happy with your start, and we're gonna do chapter 1 today, which is already quite a bit of information. So I'll do exercise 11 that says a person earns 48,000 per year. Great. And another earns 3750 per month. So salaries are given per year and per month, and that's inconsistency. So I need to be able to put them either both per month or both per year, because it says how much more does the first person earn than the second. And again, that's kind of odd question. How much more? Oh, in a year. Ah, that's the part I have to watch out for. In a year. So I have one in a year, and to get the second one in a year, I need to take that monthly salary 3750 and multiply it by 12, right? So now we're gonna get it consistent. Okay, so let us find out what this is gonna come out. And again, my little friend calculator will help me. So I'm gonna multiply. Right? Now you're multiplying also. 12, right? Okay, so 45,000. Well, looks like it's definitely more than first one, or actually first one is 48. It's less, right? It's less by 3,045, and the first one is less. Okay, so I guess that's what's happening. We got person that earns how much more. So what you say is 3,000 more, right? 3,000 extra dollars. So in order to answer the equation, you want to read the equation. That's important. So if you're solving the word problem, the main idea is to read the equation, because they can ask you just about anything, something not even related to it. What's your instructor's name? Alex. So, well, that's really something that one may need to read first, right? And that's a good idea before. So don't hurry. Oh, please don't worry. Don't worry if your computer is not working well. It's fine, because I record. For that matter, I record lecture. In fact, if you even have to miss the class, that's fine, because it's all recorded. Just check your student email and it will be in there. So after we'll end this story for today, I will email you a recording of today's lecture, and that way you will not miss anything at all. So I know things happen. You might need to be someplace or other things, or power disappears. Who knows, right? So don't worry. I will send you the email with lecture. In fact, when I say, Alex, what you're gonna do if your power disappears? Well, I guess I'm not gonna have a power, but so we'll have no class, but I'll still show you where to get the information. But I don't want you to study anything without me. But in the case if you miss, or if you wanna do it faster, as I said, I will prepare next week on Monday the link to YouTube folder with all lectures for this class. How about that? So that way you will have it all available. So if you need to look in advance, I know some students feel like doing things before the class. Not many students, but sometimes have nothing to do but feel like doing it. So that's great. So you can get access to it. And it's all in the format of YouTube, so it's free. And I guess that's very convenient. And you don't have to subscribe to anything. I'll give you just a link to this lecture, so you can just click on that link, and that's it. So anyways, let's do one more and maybe we'll end it for today, right? Let's try to do one more because it looks like it's doing the problems and we're not really learning much of new stuff. Well, it's a first chapter, it's a review, and you probably see a little bit of resemblance with the pretest, right? It's arithmetic that you also had on the pretest. So anyways, how about if I do number 17 and I will let you go and enjoy weekend. Let's concentrate for one last time to do exercise number 17 and we'll be done with chapter 1. So it says that television set sells for $7.50. Okay, let me write it down. See, a good idea is to always write it down because if you don't, well, you'll have to read it again and then you will write it down. So it'll take you more time. So anyways, instead of paying total amount at the time of purchase, the same television can be bought by paying $100 down. So you split your purchase. So you pay a down payment, right? And the rest looks like, what's the rest? Looks like it says $650, right? You drop 100 from 750. You can pay $50 a month for 14 months. So if you go $50 times 14, is that going to be $650? Not sure. Well, anyways, how much is saved by paying a total amount of the purchase? So instead of paying total, which is going to be another $650, what you're going to be paying is more, right? So what's more? Looks like it's going to be 50 times 100, 500, and another 200. So you're actually going to be paying 700. So you're going to be paying not 650, but you're going to be paying more, right? More extra $50 because they decided to give you a credit. So over a year, they charge you quite a bit of a credit. They charge you $50 more, right? Well, it's pretty popular nowadays to give you those low credits, right? And depends on their interest. You can always see what is the interest they charging you, right? And decide if you are okay with this interest or not. So if you are willing to pay $50 more, and when we say, what's the interest? Let me extend this. What interest rate or what percent of the number you have to pay, 650, right, is your $50. So that'd be the interest rate that they want you to pay. Well, we can solve a little equation and say, what are you doing? Well, I'm trying to find out what the interest rate they charging. So X, whatever you want to find, instead of what, you put X. And then off means times 650. You know that. Off is always times. And is means equals. So instead of is, you put equals 250. So if you be able to solve this little equation, you will find your unknown letter X. How to find this percent? Well, 1% is 1 over 100. Do you know that? 1/100ths. Or 0.01. So if you have 5%, it's going to be 5 over 100. So number of percent is number of hundredths. So what about X%? Well, X%, I need to write it somewhere. So X over 100. X hundreds. So you don't really care what it is. You just put it over 100, and that's how you get rid of the percent sign, because it looks like I'm trying to solve equation here, and to solve equation I need to find what my X is. In other words, I want to isolate my unknown letter X. See, I asked a little bit more challenging question that they did. So I want to find the interest rate. To find out, I want to get rid of everything on the left side but X. So I want to divide both sides by 650. So that way I don't change my equation. And since it's divided by 100, I want to multiply it by 100. And that's how I'm going to solve my equation. So this is my answer. Of course, this is what I want to put in the calculator, right? And that way I'll find what X is. So let's try to do that just for fun. So it's 50 times 100. I say, Alex, why don't you just add 2 zeros at the end? Yeah, you could do that. You can help calculator, but your calculator does not need the help. So it will be gladly doing it itself and giving you the interest rate, and that's 7.69 ... So that's gonna be your percent. So you found they charge you 7 point something%, and then you decide, is that good percent for you or not? If 7 or so close to 8% interest rate is good enough, well, probably it's good, because credit cards, they like to charge you more, definitely more, close maybe to 30%. Or someplace I keep getting those nice phone calls, and they offer me various loans for 500,000, no, 50,000, 40,000. And they say, so what's the interest rate? Oh, no worries. It's about 10% a day. So what is that, a day? Or it was just pretty crazy. So the annual rate is about 1,000% or 3,000%, or it's just amazing. So I'm trying to have them stop calling me, but they just keep calling me. It's so interesting. There is a company, they keep, maybe you also experienced it. It says, press 9 and we're not gonna call you. We'll take you from calling list. And I press 9, and then the next day they call from different phone number. It was various area codes. I think it's Amazon Renton given some numbers away. So I'm trying to, and somebody told me that just put it some government way to have this people to stop calling. So yesterday I finally decided to do it, because I got tired. It's already half a year. They calling me every day from different numbers, even 800 numbers for various areas, 212, 481, whatever. Just produce area code, various areas, and they just cannot. I put carefully, just don't call me again, but they keep calling from different numbers. How about that? Very helpful. They trying to help me. They trying to give me the money at, well, probably close to 100% rate a year. So if they give me at 7, maybe I could even consider that. But no, no way. They don't do high rate. But anyways, that's off point. So as promised, I'm going to stop at this stage. You're probably already tired of me and all that interest rates, right? And I guess next time, which is going to be on Monday, we're going to start chapter 2. So that'd be, I think, much more interesting, because chapter 1 is something that you're already familiar with, but chapter 2 is set theory. Set theory that is quite different. And then next chapter 3 will deal with logic, which is a little bit related to set theory, but it's another interesting stuff. And then our plan will be to look at the number theory a little bit, and then we'll go to probability and statistics. So we'll keep moving through this textbook, and we're gonna skip quite a bit of stuff. We're gonna move to probability and statistics. So that's our goal. So we'll do it little by little without hurrying. I'm not gonna rush through areas like I did today, because today is voluntarily chapter anyways, but I think it is helpful. So I'm gonna stop to record and see if you have any questions. Please ask. If you don't have any questions, it's great, but you might get one tonight or tomorrow or weekend. So please don't hesitate. Email me the question. Email me the question, and if that's something that I can answer without writing, then I will definitely do it. So just put short sentence. But if there is a problem to solve, I'll probably save it until Monday and do it for the whole class. So it's always a good idea if you ask me to do some exercises, because otherwise I have no idea what you understand, what not. So I'll just keep moving on. So anyways, please think about all that, and thank you for coming, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.